if they get this done, and if Antonio Conte gets this done, I know we're saying he has one hand on the trophy, this will go down as one of the greatest accomplishments under even his amazing career.
This is the top half of the table. Obviously, we'll talk about Napoli in just a second, but it leaves Inter within striking distance, doesn't it? Mathematically, Marco said he thinks the title race is over. Where do you fall on it?
Yeah, I tend to think it's over as well because of the focus for Inter, right? And where they told us today it is. And we look at the schedule for Napoli moving forward. Obviously, they don't have to worry about Champions League. They'll do that next year. But it's Genoa at Parma and then the last one against Cagliari on the last day of the season. So I think they have an easy run in today. Was a little bit of a tricky one for Napoli, right? Playing Lecce at home, even though they haven't been great at home, they were fairly organized. They gave Napoli all they could handle. So nothing changes in the point spread, but we get a game closer to the last day of the season, so it makes it even more difficult.
Earlier you said, Marco, one hand on the trophy. Are you saying two now, or are you still saying one?
No, two would have been if Inter dropped points. Then I think that could have been it. Inter also has some tricky fixtures at the end of the season. Como, who, for example, Como is 10th place in the Serie A. It's an incredible story. They don't care that they're already safe. They're not a team like Udinese or Torino who's not going to be motivated. They want to play their football. Fabregas wants to show to the world. So that's a tough game. Lazio's a tough game. But I just think that when I look at Napoli, they need 7 points from these 3 matches. So 2 wins and a tie would be enough for them to do it, and the way that Conte is. I've said it a while before that Conte, in the concluding months of the Campionato of the Serie A, he has a 90% win record in April.
That's crazy, isn't it?
In April, he never lost a game in the history of him coaching. So he knows how to give this precise focus. He understands how you're supposed to pull on certain strings. You look at Inzaghi, for example, a lot of his teams historically have started to dip in the concluding months. I think they lost 36% of their games, Inzaghi teams, come the end. So there's a very difference of style. You can't be surprised at this moment. And I think with the confidence that Napoli have in this moment, I would be more surprised if they slipped up. But we have seen crazy things in Serie A.
I mean, today they get a goal from a dead ball situation. Lecce hit the crossbar as well. So, you know, you just don't know. We knew Lecce was a difficult place to go. 2 wins in a draw, like, you know, thinking about Napoli and the mentality and all the statistics. Yeah, I agree with Marco. 2 wins in a draw and you get it done. But you still got to go and get the 2 wins in a draw against teams, some of them not safe yet. 2 of the 3 games going to be away from home as well. So not quite in the bag yet. Like the fat lady hasn't sung yet.
One more analogy. That one I like. How crazy is that, though, that stat for Conte? It's madness, isn't it, to think how well he does at this point of the season, and it's not just Napoli that he's been able to do it with. What has been the difference for them to be able to keep this up? Is it just as simple as that they've had no distractions with other competitions?
I mean, yeah, of course. Conte's history is when he's got 1 game a week. It's very different than when he has Champions League, and he threw away the Coppa Italia. He didn't do what Inzaghi did. Inzaghi, you know, he tried to go to the Coppa Italia as far as he can. Conte, he said, okay, no problem. He made crazy changes against Lazio, and he wasn't bothered by that because they have 1 singular goal. And I think he looked at the realistic expectations of this Napoli group and said, it would be something incredible if we're even able to win the Scudetto, so let's just put all of our focus there. He's able to find different solutions, though, because, again, there's a lot of coaches who will complain about injuries. Napoli have had so many injuries. They've played 33% of their games with Juan Jesus in the back line, yet still have the best defense out of any team in all of Europe. Buongiorno was the big money signing. You know, Marin has been able to step in. Oliveira today plays as a center back. Neres goes down injured. So I love that they're able to find different solutions. You look at today, Raspadori is the perfect example. Every time he's called upon, he's scoring the decisive goals. He could be once again the guy that we look at and said he played his part in winning the Scudetto for Napoli.
Marco says 1 hand on the trophy. I say 1 hand on the trophy, and they're leaning in with the other hand, just getting ready to grab it right now because I really don't see them. Of course, there's a possibility. This is a crazy game, but I don't see them slipping up, especially given the fact that they don't give up goals. This is a really organized side.
Parking the autobus, 17 clean sheets they've had. That's the most in Europe's top 5 leagues. That took me by surprise, Grella, when you think of all the top teams that are competing on all these fronts, to think that Napoli is at the top in terms of defensively in that aspect.
They started the season that way. They were really difficult to play against and really organized. And that's why we also said, well, there's no way. Everyone said there's no way you, except for Marco, there's no way you can keep this up because they were struggling to score goals. 1-0 here, 1-0 there. But the thing that they do really well is that they're on the same page. They defend as a unit. They'll go and press the football at times. It was a big slew of games after I think the first 10 games where they went and pressed the football, right? They win the game against Atalanta. They're down 1-0 away from home. They win that game because they go and decide to press the football. And Atalanta, and they pick it up and they go 1-2 passes and in. And when you press or when you play in a low block or no matter what you do, when you play for Antonio Conte, you do it together. And that's a fact. I mean, there's videos of them singing in the restaurant and hanging out in the restaurant. And when you see that group together, right, without even watching them play football, you're like, uh-oh, this group's on the same page. This group wants to accomplish something together. And so that's sort of the magic of what Antonio Conte can bring, especially when he's playing in one competition, right? When you start to compare the games, 38 games they've played. You know, Inter's played almost a mini season more than them in the middle of the season. And if they get this done, and if Antonio Conte gets this done, I know we're saying he has one hand on the trophy, this will go down as one of the greatest accomplishments under even his amazing career.
How will it compare to the one that they won under Spalletti? Because if this is one of the most amazing accomplishments for Conte and obviously for the fans to get a fourth Scudetto, but the second in such consecutive seasons.
Beauty and the Beast.
So
That's what it would be.
Which one's the beauty?
Well, which one do you think?
It was actually, it's more surprising, the first one. The first one's more surprising than this one. I know you could look at the 10th place and getting to first place, but nobody expected Spalletti's Napoli to win the Scudetto that year. They played a brilliant style of football, a football that I think will be remembered by the Napoli fans for history. It's the first time that they won in 33 years. They'll be remembered the same. If you know anything about Napoli fans, they're already so excited, and you could feel the energy because for them, and I said this last week as well, so the older generation that had Maradona, that had the best player of all time. That's how they were able to win. And so many thought, all right, we're never, in the modern football, we're never going to get Maradona again. We're never going to get the best player in the world. So how is my kid going to be able to watch Napoli win? How am I going to transmit those emotions? And the fact that now they've done it, well, they could do it. They did it once, and now they could do it in 2 years is
What would
special.
you say the comparison is, though, between the two ways they did it?
I agree.
Definitely.
But both just as emotional. You'll still feel it the same way.
For sure.
It's amazing to think that this is an Antonio Conte that on match day one said, I came to Napoli and I was looking for something positive and I couldn't find anything, right? Who was it? Was it Verona match day one? 3-0. And you're thinking, I'm just thinking from a dressing room standpoint, how the heck do players get over that? I mean, he basically tore the whole dressing room apart on match day one. And then you're talking about, 30 match days plus later on where they're in a restaurant dancing and singing with each other, right? I mean, it's an amazing job by a manager. And that's more than X's and O's. That's what we call managing. You're managing players. You're managing personalities. You're managing how you deal with everybody on a daily basis. Because if he'd have lost that dressing room, no one would have argued, right? He said, well, players don't want to hear that. They don't want to listen to that about themselves. But what an incredible job. It's not over yet, but he's getting close.
But he knows when to push and when to pull for me. He even did it a couple of weeks ago where we all started getting a little bit nervous on what he was trying to say by that. But he understands how to take the pressure off and how to make the media focus on something else because he feels like his players can't handle it. There's a great story from Parolo who just said something because he worked with Conte. And he said there was a moment in the Italian national team where we were already qualified. We're at the top of our group stage. So in the last game that didn't really mean much, we all were relaxed. We weren't as focused. He said Conte came into the locker room and humiliated all of us. He made us feel like we were nothing. The next game, what did they do? They went and beat Spain. So he understands when I have to rile you up, and he gets the most out of players who in their career, if you just look at it, never achieved what they end up achieving under him.
I mean, the guy also that we got to sing his praise is De Laurentiis. De Laurentiis in January.
They've been happy together.
Because
Yeah, that's
De Laurentiis is
crazy.
quiet.
But this guy, he sold his best player 80 million. He sent Osimhen away on loan. Zielinski left, and he said, no problem. We're not going to replace him. And we're going to win. And at the time, it was Garnacho, and he came out and said, well, is Garnacho going to guarantee me anything? And obviously in football, you're not guaranteed anything.
How about in January?
And he said, yeah, we'll just go on without them. And we'll just go and win the
And we'll
same.
sell Kvara too.
Kvara, and he got rid of him as well.
And he just stuffed the money. I mean, it's legendary stuff if he goes on and wins
Hey,
it. But
Conte's going to go grab that money this summer, otherwise he's going to leave.
we'll see.
Would you pay everything to Conte to stay next season?
I think this summer, Napoli's going to make a splash. I think if they win the Scudetto, Conte stays, 150 million, at least, they're going to spend this summer.
Ooh, okay. Well, step one first, winning their fourth Scudetto, which they are on track for.